Suppose that Missy has $300 in credit card debt. Shannon offers to help her out and get rid of $18 worth of the debt. Write and evaluate an expression that represents how much money Missy has left. So just like the last one, we start with credit card debt. So we're going to start with negative $300. But now Shannon is offering to help her out by removing $18 of debt. So when we're removing something or getting rid of it, that's subtracting. And since we're getting rid of $18 in debt, that is subtracting negative $18. This is a more complicated situation because we are subtracting a negative number, but there's a trick that we have in these situations. Whenever we are subtracting a negative number, those negatives cancel out. It's like two negatives make a positive sometimes, and it turns into an addition. So this is the same as negative 300 plus 18. And the way that we can reason this is that if someone were to take away $18 of someone's debt, they could do that by handing them $18 in cash. I could help you get rid of your debt by handing money to you. And so adding $18 to someone's pocket is the same as subtracting $18 of their debt. So our rule says whenever we're subtracting a negative number, that's the same as an addition. So now we've got negative 300 plus 18, but we still have to figure out how to evaluate this. Here we've got a negative quantity that we're adding to a positive quantity. And I want to point something out. A negative quantity puts us in debt. If we were looking at a number line, negative numbers would go to the left. But a positive quantity takes us to the right. It's positive. The positive direction is to the right. So if we have $300 in debt in one direction, but then $18 in the other direction, it's positive, what we need to do is we need to take the difference here because those are both moving us in different directions. So we need to set this up as a subtraction problem. So we're going to take 300 and subtract 18 from it. Now the reason we're setting it up this way is because with subtraction, the larger number always has to go on top. With addition, it doesn't actually matter. You can do it in any order, but subtraction has a particular order. So here we're going to do 300 minus 18. We can't do 0 minus 8. We're going to have to borrow, and we can't borrow from that other 0, so we're going to have to borrow from the 3. When we do that, the 3 becomes a 2. Then this 0 becomes a 10, because we've taken one of those hundreds and changed it to 10 tens. And now we can borrow from the 10 becomes a 9, and then this 0 becomes a 10, and now we're in a place where we can subtract. 10 minus 8 is 2, 9 minus 1 is 8, bring down the 2. We get $282, but the question is, will this be positive or negative? And I think you can tell that it's negative because the debt was a lot more than the amount of money she got from her sister. So it's going to be negative 282. Essentially, when we are doing an addition problem like this, when we've got numbers that have different signs, even when we have numbers of the same sign, whichever number is larger, in this case 300 is larger than 18, we take the sign of that number, and that's going to be the sign of our answer. That's because that was the larger number that has the most influence on which direction we're going, whether we're going into debt, whether we're making money. So in this case, we end up with a negative answer because the larger number in our problem was a negative number. Now, we've looked at these 4 examples, and you're probably thinking, great, we've gotten through them. Are we going to have to do all of this work and reason things out each time? And the answer is no. There's actually a really nice rule that we can use always to figure out whether we need to set up an addition problem or a subtraction problem, and whether we are going to have a positive answer or a negative answer. Let's talk about that rule. All right, here's our list of rules for adding and subtracting signed numbers. Sign numbers mean they can be positive or negative. They'll have signs. First, we want to change all of the subtractions to additions by switching the signs. That's what we did here. We were subtracting a negative, and we were able to change it to an addition by adding a positive. It's easier when we're looking at things as additions because we can tell which quantities are positive and negative, whereas here it's a little bit harder because we've got those two negatives. So first we will change subtractions to additions by switching the signs. Then for each addition we need to look at the signs of the numbers. If they're different, we take the difference, and if they're the same, we take the sum. In this problem, the signs were different. We had a negative number and a positive number, and that's why we had to set up a difference when we actually did the math. If both of these were negative, like in the previous example, we would take the sum. So it's all about the signs. If they're different, take the difference. If they're the same, take the sum. And then the last step, to determine the sign of the answer, the bigger number always wins. That means that if the bigger number was negative, the answer is going to be negative. And if the bigger number was positive, the answer is going to be positive. Let's do two more quick examples, and then you can look at some of the other examples if you feel like you still need a little bit more help. Let's take a look at, negative 13 plus 67. All right. First, we're supposed to change all subtractions to additions, but this is already an addition, so we're good there. We don't have to do anything. Next, for each addition, we need to look at the signs. If they're different, we take the difference. If they're the same, we take the sum. Well, this number's negative and this number's positive. That means they have different signs, so we've got to take the difference. We're going to have to set up a difference. Remember, when we're taking differences, we always have to put the larger number on top. So this is going to be 67 minus 13. Now when we do the subtraction, 7 minus 3 is 4. 6 minus 1 is 5. So we get 54. However, we have one last step. We have to determine the sign of the answer. We have to figure out if this is going to be positive 54 or negative 54. And we're told the bigger number always wins. So if we look at our original numbers, the larger number 67 is positive. That means that our answer is also going to be positive, and so the answer here is 54. All right. Let's take a look at one more. Let's look at negative 152 minus 376. Let's look at the rules again. First, we're supposed to change all subtractions to additions by switching the signs. This just means that we're going to rewrite this negative 152 plus negative 376. Good. Now, once we've done that, for each addition, we look at the signs. If they're different, take the difference. If they're the same, take the sum. Both of these numbers are negative. So they have the same sign, which means we're going to take the sum. We're going to add them together. So we're going to take 152 plus 376, and we go through and add from right to left. 2 plus 6 is 8. 5 plus 7 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 3 is 5. We get 528. And the last step, never forget, we've got to determine the sign of the answer, if it's positive or negative. We know the bigger number wins. The larger number here was 376, and because it's negative, our answer will be negative, so we get negative 528. Some of you might feel confident enough at this point to go into the homework assignment. You can click on the link below to access WebAssign for that assignment. It should have the same name as the section in Canvas that we're in, so adding and subtracting integers. And if you don't feel confident enough that you're ready for the homework and you want to see some more examples, click on the link below that says videos, adding and subtracting integers, and you'll be able to see several more examples where I go through them one at a time and apply these rules so that you can get more comfortable with it.